My fiancée died a month before our wedding date. It was the kind of freak accident that you would see on Final Destination, and the injuries she received were not just, of course, fatal, but disfiguring as well. I had to identify her body, and she was unrecognizable from the waist up. The only reference I had to confirm her identity was a tattoo she had on the outside of her right thigh. 2 butterflies with their wings interlocked. The butterflies were meant to represent us. She got it the day after we announced our engagement. I had stood looking over the ruin of her body, marveling at the fact that this collection of organs and skin and blood had once been my beloved. She had survived so much, only to be brought down by a tragic chain of events. And I couldn't help but think of a quote from Terry Pratchett. When someone is saved from certain death by a strange concatenation of circumstances, they say it's a miracle. But of course, if someone is killed by a freak chain of events, the oil spilled just there, the safety fence broken just there, that must also be a miracle. Just because it's not nice doesn't mean it's not miraculous. It was indeed miraculous, a horrible miracle devised by an insane god. And of course I was sad. She had been a lovely woman and I had loved her very much. But her death had also solved an awkward predicament I'd been mulling over for a while. I had been wondering how I could call the wedding off. Before I go any further, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. I know what people are like, and I know everyone reading this will probably assume I orchestrated her death. I did not. I loved her dearly once upon a time, more absently in the past years, and I had no wish for her to die. I just didn't want to marry her, for reasons I will explain presently. But her death was the result of such an odd set of circumstances that anyone who could have plotted and put that plan into action would have to be a god themselves. For it happened like this. My fiancée, I will call her M for the purpose of this tale, was attending a final wedding dress fitting. I, of course, had not seen the dress, but I saw the shreds of fabric clinging to her wounds on the day I was called to identify her. It was completely her, wispy and sparkling and floaty, so very her. Anyway, it transpired that the boutique she was purchasing the dress from had only one member of staff in attendance that day. Ordinarily, she would have had people to help her into the dress. The one staff member had to leave M in order to take care of other business. Before she had left, she had locked the shop door so nobody would be able to come in whilst she was gone. Eager to try on her wedding dress, however, M had apparently attempted to put it on alone. Most of the following events have been put together by eyewitnesses, the coroner and the CCTV footage. But it appears that M, my sweet clumsy bride, had somehow gotten stuck in the dress. It was a tricky piece of clothing, according to the traumatized shop assistant, with a lace-up corset back and a number of ties and straps besides, and it's possible she panicked. Tangled in the confines of the dress, hands over her head and face covered, M had stumbled from the changing room seeking help. The dress was quite heavy, despite its floaty appearance. The CCTV shows her bumping into a side table and falling over, the vase on the table toppling and a considerable amount of water tipping onto the dress fabric. The inquest that followed her death suggested that the water on the fabric over her face would have produced a suffocating effect, like waterboarding. And from her struggles to free herself, it was clear she was in some distress. It was heartbreaking to watch. If you like how this video looks, maybe you want to try out the software we use for yourself. Now you're probably wondering what it is, so let me explain that to you real quick. We use Create Studio, just like hundreds of thousands of other video marketers, local businesses, students, teachers, professionals, business owners, and more, all across the world. Anybody that wishes to create the following types of videos will find Create Studio very useful. These are 2D and 3D animations, video ads, e-commerce videos, square videos, explainer videos, mobile stories, slideshows, promo content, and of course, the very reason we use it, for YouTube content. But don't worry, it does not require any prior knowledge of art or drawing skills to use. It is designed to be easy to use. It also has a very intuitive interface and can be used by people who are not familiar with video editing. So if you would like to try it out, there's a link for it in the description, with a special offer and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, let's get back to the story. That's not what killed her, however. M had managed to get herself into a sitting position, using her arms, presumably to get the wet material off her face. She always was a fighter. From there, she managed to get to her feet somehow, flopping around like a salmon until she was upright, and made her way into the main room of the boutique looking for assistance. She did find her way to the door, but it was locked, of course. She had to have been exhausted by then. She tottered here and there, a zigzag path of despair that the soulless eye of the camera recorded, and by some horrible miracle managed to bump into the full length, angled against the wall. M wasn't a heavy woman per se, but she fell heavily, and the mirror shattered into a multitude of potentially deadly shards. Everyone watching the footage winced in unison, I recall, as the jagged glass exploded around her. The mirror shards didn't kill her either. On the contrary, they freed her. The fabric of the dress got sliced in such a way that she was able to push her face free. And although she couldn't be heard gasping for air, she could be seen gulping lungfuls of it. There was blood on the dress, and it was ruined, but such was her relief that she was seen to smile. Lying there, on her back in the abandoned boutique, surrounded by the jagged glitter of the destroyed mirror, she checked her arms and ran her newly released hands over her face, and seemed to find no drastic injuries, which the inquest somehow managed to confirm. We saw her laugh then. She always had the most exuberant laugh, very infectious. Her relief, it was greater than the demise of the dress, and no doubt she was rehearsing the story of what had occurred in order to report back to me later. M always had a talent at looking on the bright side of things, and at recounting tales of her misadventures in the most amusing way possible. It might have ended there, a funny anecdote of what happened to her on the day of her final dress fitting, a story we might have told our children. But there is where the miracle occurred. It was a bright, sunny day. The boutique was coincidentally positioned so that it got the full benefit of the natural light. And somehow, through some bizarre twist of fate, the sunshine happened to fall upon a large mirror shard in such a way that it reflected back into the eyes of a passing lorry driver. Thanks for watching this video. This is only part 1 of this story that was made by Reddit user Widdy Woodwitch. If you would like for your original story to be in one of these videos, please submit it in our subreddit, Unwanted Goosebumps. There's a link for it in the description. It would also help us a lot if you liked the video and commented what you thought about it. And we will see you next week on Unwanted Goosebumps.